I know that Andrew was there too, and I was there helping out Aaron, the station manager, with the singer songwriter stage, and there's a bunch of people who are really awesome playing some music, and hopefully we'll get to one person's album that I got a free CD today, so it's pretty awesome. So what have you guys been up to?
Whatever laid off people do.
Yeah.
So being laid off and being laid off. Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about being jobless and laid off? Because all three of us right now are kind of looking for a job, aren't we?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I had a job, but then I was laid off.
Yes, you were.
I'm just kidding. I don't really care. But no, yeah, I had a pretty steady job, full time. But then got replaced by another guy. That's fine.
That guy that was better than you.
Hey,
How's that make you feel?
how's not getting a job there?
Shut up. I applied a bunch of places.
What happened there?
That's like saying you were on the basketball team and you got the participation award.
Wobord?
Yeah, but the problem is you didn't participate in a job at all.
I tried for it.
So-
One day, Andy, one day.
Yeah. So where have you guys been looking at for jobs? Internet, online. What are you playing at?
Anyway, so, yeah. Okay. Andrew, what kind of job are you looking for in this great city of Abbotsford?
Started with fashion. That didn't work. And then, sort of just after that, retook, went to fast food, except McDonald's. Yeah. Pretty much, bunch of places, clothing, department stores. I even tried EB Games.
Did you just go there and ask if they needed someone to work there?
No, I just gave, sort of asked, just can you take my resume? And then if they didn't give me an application form, if the store doesn't do it, just give them the resume and hope they call you back.
I see. Any luck with you? Except the marketing place I hooked you up with, which is kind of sketchy, but what can you say? What can you do?
Me? I just kind of, you know what, I figured I just graduated. You know, I'll take this time and just get another job.
Yeah. I think one of the problems of getting a job in Abbotsford in particular is that it's such a small city that you really don't have many choices, especially if you're looking for an entry-level job, which most of us are at this age.
Are you saying that the population of Abbotsford doesn't match the job availability?
That too, but like, let's think about the economy here. There's a lot of agriculture, and that's a big part of Abbotsford, right? Agriculture, and then there's
And it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of agriculture in Abbotsford, and that's it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because Abbotsford's the city in the country, and
Or the other way around.
I'm not sure if you guys are looking for agricultural jobs, which I think there are a lot of, because you look around and they're like, oh, we're hiring at a farm, we're hiring at this place, factory that processes fruit, things like that, especially at this season. But the rest of Abbotsford is, it's smaller. It's just retail and fast food restaurants, that kind of thing. But when you go to Vancouver, for example, there's so many other diverse things that are part of the economy, like, I don't know, music, service, hotels, restaurants, and all these other things that are less prominent than Abbotsford.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bigger cities will have more job availability.
Yesterday I was with Faith, and you were with me too, and she was saying, oh, when I'm in Vancouver, I could get 3 or 4 jobs, and I just pick one of the ones that I liked. But here, it's like you keep trying and you keep trying, and you never get the job that you want, and you have to demean yourself to do one that you don't like.
Yeah, it's getting what's ever available, and you have to work with it. I know that feel.
I know that feel too.
Do you?
I did.
You did?
I did.
I did.
Until I didn't get the job.
Oh.
Like, try finding a job where a janitorial experience actually, like, counts in when you're not trying to get back into that field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What now, Dakota?
Well, Andrew, we'll talk about experiences and the
Right
lesson
now.
that you have later.
Yeah,
Um,
whatever.
Well, about experiences that people our age, we haven't had that many jobs, like 3 or 4 tops, maybe even more sometimes. But it's hard to pick up experience when you can't get hired because you don't have any experience, and that's what people are looking for, right?
yeah.
So what do you
Yeah.
do? It's the struggle. Do you have to go to school, or do you have to like volunteer your time doing these things?
Volunteer, I think, is actually one of the areas where I know for law enforcement, if you even want to get into there, assuming that you have all the minimum requirements, volunteers they look for.
Yeah.
So volunteer, I know, is the best next thing to work experience.
Okay.
And usually, if you volunteer, you usually are guaranteed if they have a spot open, because 1, they don't have to pay you. 2, they train you occasionally, depending on what you're volunteering for, and 3, it looks good on a resume.
Yeah, but then sometimes you just need money. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Generation Z show on 101.7 FM.
Broadcasting from UFE on 101.7 FM, as he just said, to the Fraser Valley. I'm Dakota Leslie.
I'm Andy Lee,
I'm Andrew Stump.
and that was Patrick Joliker with "Dancing in the Rain" from today. I listened to that today live.
That-
It was
that's
awesome.
Um,
Starting to rain, which is perfect timing.
so
It was awful.
we're kind of short of time right now, but we're gonna try and fit in a little bit of a homeless segment before the interview about the homeless community with Dalton Jones. So let's kind of like rush through this, and we'll see where it goes. Andrew, what's your opinion on the homeless community? What we can do, and what we can make it better?
And yeah, what are your experiences with them?
Well, I think it's a very diverse topic, and I don't think that I could come up with a solution in less than a few minutes, let alone less than 5 seconds of that question being answered, being asked. I think sheltering housing projects have started, and I've noticed a few more apartment buildings being built up by the city, but I mean, that can't be the only thing, because I know a few people will reject the invitation to have an apartment. I know a few people will choose to live on the street. I don't know any personally, but this is just from what I've heard, so don't quote me on it. Besides that, I mean, what do you do with a person that just chooses the lifestyle? It's like saying, that's like saying to a rich person, if they don't want to be rich, let's say someone who's 25, they're a millionaire, but they don't want to be a millionaire anymore for some random reason. It's like saying, well, just don't be a millionaire. I don't know, maybe that's a
Put
bad
your money
example.
somewhere else then. God.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're used to the lifestyle, right, or you just want to do it, I mean,
Your choice.
you're gonna,
You're gonna do what you're gonna do.
yeah, you do it. I don't really know. To be honest, I mean, I don't really know what to do with a person that chooses what they want to do, and if they want to do it, and it's in their capability, I mean, how do you make them not?
All right.
You just leave them be.
Andy, what's your opinion as my partner host?
Well, you're gonna hear my opinion on the next part of the in the interview.
Why don't you summarize it right now?
Well, basically, I believe that we treat them like they're less than human, but in reality, they're as human as we are, and we should treat them the same way. And sometimes they have more difficulties than we do, and we just gotta help them out sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree
But-
with you. Sorry, go ahead.
But like you were saying, some people want to stay homeless. We just help them when they need the help and they ask, and I think that should be good. But sometimes I don't know, it's a little fuzzy. We'll just help them when they need them.
All right.
What about you, Dakota?
What about me? All right. Well, I think what we could do is, of course, we could do more housing for those that want to be housed, right? That's always an option. Well, it should be always an option anyway. But another thing I was just thinking about was sometimes at job sites, especially with trades, they have these things called food trucks. And basically they just bring by lunch, packaged lunch. What we should do is just have donations and then a food truck every day drop off food. That should be something that we should work towards over the next couple of years.
But there's a small issue. How do you convince the community to fund that? because I know a lot of people are like, well, they can get a job, blah blah blah, and they have a very one-track minded sort of angle of it.
We could guilt trip them.
Let me answer that. Well, remember last night we were at downtown and we saw the gray van pull up to the teepee place.
Well, yeah.
That they're every Friday they make lunch for all the people there.
No, I get that, but what I mean is like an actual designated like food truck that stops there every day during around lunchtime. Kind of like the same idea for employees of a job.
Yeah, and sorry.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, and the angle where I'm coming from with that is, how do you get the rest of the community to grant the financing, and then like to influence political, like the mayor, like the local political system to sort of intervene and grant the funding.
One political objective style or whatever approach that you could go at it is obviously, like I said before, the guilt trip. Don't look at me as this is being bad, but we could guilt trip them as saying that we'll forever be known as the community that spread rooster poop all over the Gladys area, or we could be known as the group that decided to come together and get a food truck.
We shouldn't guilt trip people like that.
No, but that is a political strategy.
It's a strategy, but I think people should, from the heart, want to help others.
No, of course, but he's talking about the angle of getting politicians on board and things like that.
Oh, well, you'll hear this part as well in the interview, but as Dalton says, you can write to the politicians, you can vote for people who want to support the community. There's all these different options that you can take. It's just, are you gonna get off your couch and do something about it? Which, in all honesty, not everyone does, and yeah, it doesn't happen. Are we gonna get up right now, go outside and start helping homeless people, or are you gonna go straight outside and start helping anyone?
No, I'm probably gonna go straight outside and then back inside.
Probably, yeah. So exactly.
That's everybody though.
So
for the most part.
Yeah, if we could make a sustainable method, like the food bank, how it's local citizens helping the food bank, they donate food, and it's mainly consisted of volunteers, and it's self-sufficient, or at least self-stabilized. How could we integrate the food truck idea, sort of stabilize it?
There you go.
Like sort of the same way.
Yeah, exactly. We can even make like a food bank, food truck thing. Give them a food truck that goes around.
So cheapen it and just have an extension of the food bank go around and sort of prepare meals.
Yeah, a pickup truck.
So that's a good idea.
Just all in the box.
That's definitely a good idea.
Have you guys heard of Meals on Wheels?
No.
Well, there's a program called Meals on Wheels. I don't know who they cater to, but they do cater to the people who need food.
I believe that's downtown Vancouver, and that's just pretty much like anybody in that area.
Okay, well,
who's willing to buy? It's kind of like a hot dog stand that's on the go.
Well, I know that a couple of months ago, no, actually last month, our school did like a fundraiser, Biking to Hope, for Meals on Wheels. So I'm gonna look into more detail on that and get back.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Anyways, we've got to turn to the interview now. So, should we play one more song before we get into that?
Nah, we got lots of songs in that pre-record, let's be honest.
Okay.
Well, for our show, lots of songs.
Okay, well, here it goes.
This is the Gen Z Show.
Hey, welcome back to the Generation Z show, broadcasting from UFB to the Fraser Valley on 101.7 FM. I'm Dakota Leslie.
I'm Andy Lee. And we have a special guest today, Dalton Jones. I think I kind of cut him off because he was going to be like, I'm Dalton. Hi,
I'm Dalton.
Nice to meet you again.
Yeah.
So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and for our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. I'm Dalton. I'm a normal guy who happens to be doing a summer internship with Mennonite Central Committee and 5 and 2 Ministries, working in the area of homelessness advocacy.
Great. So you tell us that you're just an ordinary guy, but your work isn't ordinary at all. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do and also the people you work with?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm kind of doing two different things right now. The first thing's with MCC, which is Mennonite Central Committee. They're an NGO, and they do relief work around the world. And then in the local community, they're sponsoring homelessness-related initiatives and doing like city planning and stuff. So I'm working with them and involved in numerous types of things, usually related to like housing or social housing. And then with 5 and 2 Ministries, that's a frontline service worker ministry in the area that ministers to the marginalized community and does like harm reduction and helps people get housing and builds relationships and stuff like that.
So with the social housing, that's kind of like the situation where we kind of met up, where we moved that homeless couple out of the woods or whatever it was just off the highway, and then we put them into that apartment. Just
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely like that's a main part of the job. Like that's how you
Yeah.
house homeless people. You go to them, you meet them where they're at, you support them in the process of
Yeah.
getting into subsidized housing, which is anything $375 or less a month.
Okay, so for examples, is there apartments and houses, like actual houses, like maybe basement suites or rooms, or is there just apartments available for maybe the Abbotsford community that's homeless?
I mean, I know the Salvation Army does like a weekly email for all like the cheapest housing, but it's crazy because you look at that and it's just like it's not cheap. It's really actually hard to find like social housing, and especially for like the homeless community, it's particularly hard for them to get housing because they get discriminated against with landlords and different stuff like that, and they essentially just need some support in that process. So that's some of the work that we do.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's homelessness has been a really big issue since the protests in front of City Hall, and it's always been a major issue, especially when we talk about downtown Abbotsford. It's always the sketchy place because, or that's what we consider. A lot of us consider it. So what kind of issues are we facing, especially for people like me who don't approach homelessness all the time, and for a lot of other people, we're not that informed on what's going on. Could you fill us in about what kind of issues we're facing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's people like homelessness is crazy because there's so many factors involved with people and like why they're living on the street. But it's really simple though because it's a housing problem. Like at the end of the day, like there's not enough housing, and that's the biggest problem. Is that Canada is one of the only developed countries in the world that like has social health care but doesn't have a national housing program. So different provinces are kind of left to fend for themselves without national support, and then they don't end up doing that because they don't have enough money either. So then they kind of push it on local communities to do it, and then it just doesn't end up happening, and so people slip through the cracks. And so the question is, how do we help those people that are slipping through the cracks? Because the market housing in and of itself isn't like the final solution. There needs to be a social element too.
So would you suggest maybe a proposition for maybe City Hall and then also members of the community, 5 to 2 Mennonite community, sorry, messed it up, MCC?
Yeah, it is the MCC, yeah.
Would you suggest for like City Hall and then all to meet and like just discuss this properly and come up with a solution?
There actually is a task force meeting going on right now, and it's kind of like a twice a month thing, I think, every other week, and a bunch of different community leaders meet and are discussing the issue. So the last time, actually, people from UFV were giving a presentation on housing first, and it went really well. And then other weeks, different people come and present different ideas. The Dignity Village, I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but that's going into Abbotsford, like came and presented their idea there and found support that way. So they actually the city is taking steps to deal with it, and things seem positive. So.
All right, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, on the Generations Edge show, we try to focus on issues that will affect us in the future,
And musicians.
and musicians as well. That's a great issue. Anyway, so you were saying that people are slipping through the cracks. They're not getting the support they need. But my parents tell me, oh, if you don't study enough, you'll become a homeless guy.
Yeah.
If you don't get a job, you'll be homeless. There's all these factors that come into play.
Yeah.
What are those factors usually, and what kind of steps can we take for us to help these people?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think the number one thing you see right off the bat is issues related to mental health. is something that you're seeing all the time in over 50% of the homeless community that's living on the street. Sometimes the service workers kind of say, you obviously have some sort of mental health problem, you're living on the street and not in a house. Like, so like everyone has like a disability to some degree who's living outside. And so, sorry, totally lost track.
we were talking. You were talking about mental health and the
Oh, right,
factors
right. The
that-
different factors. Sorry,
Yeah.
totally.
It's all
just
right.
got thinking about that. But yeah, so that's one of the big things. And then one of the issues is the concurrent like factors is that people are living with concurrent issues of mental illness and then addiction on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they just need extra support. And then if you look at like the Fraser Valley Regional District in terms of like how they spend money, we invest a lot less in mental health related stuff in the hospitals than like the Vancouver Regional District does. So there's like a problem right there in terms of just finances. Is there's not really the support. Like even in Surrey, there's this thing called ACT, which is like an on-site mental health assessment nurse, like a psychiatric nurse, goes actually into the camps and does assessments. Because one of the big problems is that homeless people are discriminated against in like the hospitals, and so they go in to get a checkup, but they don't have. It's just they don't have the support that they need to get a general practitioner to tell them they do have a mental illness and to be able to like start working through it. They're really alone and isolated and marginalized from the rest of the community, and it's, yeah. So those are some of the factors.
Okay, I see. How about for children, like children and kids that have families that are unstable and so they leave? What about those children? Do they have any issues that they face?
Yeah, the children is crazy because if you think about it, like the government provides support up until you're like 19 through the foster care system, and then right when you turn 19, they're like, "Well, you're on your own. Like you're on the street."
I know quite a bit about that because my parents do foster care
Mm.
when I was raised, and I was raised around a bunch of foster care and like children, of course.
Mhm.
And no, yeah, for sure. When they're 19, it's either you have to pay rent with the home, and there has to be sufficient proof that you're paying rent, or the ministry will actually take your stuff, boot you out because sometimes fraud happens in foster care. Let's not lie. Parents get attached to the children. They try and you don't have to pay me this month, and we'll just make it seem like, well, sometimes you get caught.
Right.
Yeah, so no, I definitely know how the ministry can just take away people, and no, it makes sense, and it's fair, and it's legal, and they're not doing anything illegal, and they shouldn't be looked upon bad for it because it's policy.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. It's just, you wonder, could there be more support systems in place for people like, because what you see is like, there's like 12% of the homelessness in Abbotsford is like youth under the age of 18 or 19. And they just did that in March. Like they just did the survey. Those are the numbers. And so like before 2008, the Cyrus Center, came in 2008. Before that, there was no youth drop-in center in Abbotsford. So those types of services just weren't there for the homeless youth and those who aren't. Yeah.
Is that the Cyrus Center is up by South Fraser Way? Kind of just off it?
Yeah, I think it's on McClure.
McClure? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit hidden by the road, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's there.
Okay.
So what it seems to me is that the government isn't providing enough support for homeless people. They can't take a holistic approach to helping everyone out. So, what kind of support do you know that other groups in Abbotsford and around the community give for people in their situation?
Yeah. There's really not a lot. Like the 5 and 2 is really the only like frontline thing. Like there's always a Salvation Army, or the Salian as it's kind of called on the streets, and
Yeah.
and
The street name.
the street, yeah, the Sally. And so like that's so important, and that's such an important part of the community. Like people knowing they'll be able to get meals or be sheltered if like an emergency happens in their life. But other than those two things, there's really nothing. I mean, a lot of the churches in Abbotsford don't get that involved. It's hard. Like the homelessness community is just so radically different from all the different church communities and the different communities that make up the people who live in Abbotsford, that there's just this seemingly inseparable gap sometimes that people think that there is, but there's really not. And it's not as hard as you might think to like make a big difference in someone's life just by like being present and like talking to them and like wanting to hear their story and stuff. So
I see.
I find with a lot of people, they have hard skills doing that, just going out of their way. I noticed, like, if you go down Vancouver, probably if you're walking down East Hastings or anything like that, 1 out of 20 people give money.
Yeah.
Just typical things like that.
Mhm.
Right. I usually, if I have change, and I'll be honest, and if I can actually give it out, I can. If I have change on me and I can't give it out, I apologize. But, you know, it's probably for bus fare or SkyTrain or something. If I'm up there. Down here, I always have change on me. So, you know, if you happily see me, I might have some money for you.
Well, there you go, homeless community.
Yeah.
I think I think part of the problem with our community is that we aren't able to support as much as we should be, and even I know that in my family, I've always been discouraged to help homeless people because they're sketchy and everything, which they're not. I don't think. After I've met a few, they're just normal people. Sometimes they have some problems, but I mean, they're just people, right?
Yeah, definitely.
For sure, there's this one homeless guy. He goes around town with the lawnmower attached to his bike. Maybe you've seen him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, he's pretty funny. Kind of the day after the fireworks, was walking back with my girlfriend and a friend of mine, and we sat down at the Mill Lake bench just to have a few talks, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
He rides up, talks with us, whatever. A drunk couple comes up, that's funny, but it was this weird kind of like group of just like a homeless guy, 2 drunk people, and then 3 people just after the fireworks, whatever, right? But yeah, no, he definitely brought up a lot of funny conversations about past work and just living on the streets and typical situations. And
So many good stories, man. You want to
Yeah.
hear a good story? Go talk to some of the people down in the camps.
Could you tell us a good story?
Oh, a good story.
Let's make these people sound more human.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. They're so human. I mean, and they're experience so much brokenness. It's crazy. Trying to think of a funny story. There was 2 homeless people, and the one guy had a bunch of money for some reason, and so this is like pretty shocking. Like no one was expecting to see this, and the lady comes up to him. She goes, "Well, are you? Oh, can we swear? No. Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I probably shouldn't tell that story. The punchline's a swear word, so well, come back to that question. Let me think about it.
Alrighty, no
All
worries.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we're at our first third of our show, so we'll just play a song here. Let's start off by New World Order by Madflower.
Yeah, perfect.
I hear the words falling down from the tongue of the son of the rich and the fortunate one, saying there will be money, enough food, enough funds for the sons of our sons of our sons of our sons. Future looks bright as a mushroom cloud, waiting for that new world order to come. Waiting for the new world order to come. Out on the main streets, the underclass weep. They're looking for shelters and some place to eat. They look in the mirror of the brand new TVs. $1 billion we just sent overseas. But don't look for help if you're looking for funds. Just wait for the new world order to come. Wait for the new world order to come. Hey. out in the desert, a soldier boy sleeps, hoping tonight that his soul he will keep. Hope he'll no longer be controlled by fear. Hope's the peace he longs for will appear. But like a good soldier, he sleeps with his gun and he waits for his new world orders to come. Waits for his new world orders to come. Presidents and salesmen and men of great means, they set up a straw boss with killing machines. The robot goes random, the programming fails. They kill all his people and they throw him in jail. But new generals wait for supplies, ships and bombs. They just wait for the new world orders to come. They wait for the new world orders to come. They wait for the new world orders. Hey!
Are you interested in a career in organic farming? Seeking a mentor to help guide you on your way? Want to apprentice with someone experienced to learn what it's really all about? Apply now to the Atlantic Canadian Organic Regional Network's new Grow a Farmer Apprenticeship and Mentorship Program, and work with an amazing group of organic farms throughout the Maritimes. For full details, please visit www.growafarmer.ca.
The About Face charity is aiming to send youth with facial differences to camp. They are raising funds with their Leap of Faith skydiving event on July 12th. To donate to local participants from Team Erica Bear who will be taking part in the event, visit aboutface.ca/events and click Leap of Faith.
Welcome back to the Generation Z Show on 101.7 FM, broadcasting from UFB Abbotsford to the Fraser Valley. I'm Andy Lee.
I'm Dakota Leslie.
And we're here with Dalton.
Hey.
You just heard New World Order by Mad Flower, and if you didn't know, Mad Flower is a band from Abbotsford. I believe the singer is my teacher, my drama and guitar teacher.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and you can check them out in August at the Envision Concert Series, because they're going to be playing there. And they've also played around town and at Jam and Jubilee as well, so they're pretty good. Anyways, we were just talking about Dalton's work with the homeless, and I believe he has an awesome story to tell us.
I thought of one. Sorry for the fail earlier.
No worries.
Yeah, one of the guys was telling me one night he had clearly drinking a few bottles of sherry, he told me. And he was telling me about how he had spent over $500,000 on crack alone in his life. And he knew he had done the math, and I was like, "Wow! First of all, that's amazing." But he doesn't do crack anymore. He said his only vice now is alcohol. But he was at a BC Lions game a long time ago, and went down and somehow in a drunken stupor had fallen down, and the team had adopted him and signed a bunch of this stuff, the whole helmet with every single player, and it was some good BC Lions team. And so that turns out that's his only possession he's kept for all these years. So he still has it from over 30 years ago or something like that. So that's pretty cool.
Probably worth a lot of money now.
Yeah, he said people have tried to give him a lot of money, and I mean he goes around and collects bottles and to buy alcohol, but he won't sell this stuff even though it's worth a bunch of money because it means so much to him still. It's the only thing he has.
Yeah. That makes sense to a degree for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I could understand that. You you don't give away your grandma's last ring that she gave to you or something like that. You know what I mean?
Definitely not.
I'm a little impressed how he can calculate how much money he spent on crack.
Yeah, I guess he had a pretty regular habit. He said he had a pretty good paying job for a while and was a functioning crack user. So
Oh,
Oh god.
he could even be an accountant.
I know, right?
Anyways, we must go on to more pressing matters.
Yeah, definitely.
And not crack.
And, yeah.
So, maybe you could inform us a little more about what kind of things homeless people face, and maybe about the living conditions they have.
Okay, things homeless people face. I'm just trying to think of a couple like different difficulties they go through. One thing is like people just drive by in their big goofy trucks and like drop off couches and stuff in the camps, and I think they try and justify it, like, oh, we'll go dump all our garbage on these people. But maybe they'll use it because they're homeless people or something. But what you end up doing is just invading someone's space and throwing trash everywhere. And so it ends up, then it looks all gross. And then the city comes by and goes, look at all these homeless people causing a mess out in our city. But it's really the people in trucks dropping all their junk off.
Yeah, you really gotta. A lot of people really gotta think about the situation. Okay, when they're homeless, generally they travel around. You know, before these communities came together of homeless people, right? They're just people who live under Walmart. They live under things like that, right? For sure. And people really gotta think about it. When they were traveling, right? Obviously, they weren't accumulating a lot of stuff because they had to carry light and travel away from their site that they're planning on staying at the time. So when they come into this community, they're obviously just bringing their basic necessities that they used at the place before, right? It's not like maybe some of them have a shopping cart full of whatever they needed, right? But it's not like a bunch of things, right?
Usually not,
Like,
no.
usually they need a couple people to bring a couch to a community.
Yeah, that's what they
right?
always joke about. They're like, we can't even. How would we even get these couches down on our bikes? Like,
Yeah.
it's clearly like other people bring it, and they tell all these stories about it. It's-
The guy with the lawnmower just attaching a couch
Yeah.
to the back. I could see that. That'd be hilarious. But
Well, what's with the lawnmower anyway?
well, he just cleans up people's yards sometimes for extra money.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a cool thing that he does. It's
Yeah.
awesome. He was talking to me about it.
You'd be surprised how many like homeless people do like work on the side to make extra money. Like
Yeah.
people have this impression they're just sitting around doing nothing all the time, but they're like with basically the best energy that they can provide. They're like doing their best. A lot of them. So yeah.
Yeah. Is it what kind of employment opportunities do they get?
Well, if you think about it, like in general, even big picture in the economy, it's kind of switched to like a service-based economy instead of a labor-based economy. A lot of people work in service now, and people don't hire homeless people to do service jobs. Like they don't even have an address to put down on the application when they apply for a job because they're living on the streets because they're not getting housed.
They're just like somewhere off Riverside Road.
Yeah, they're like Gladys, the teepee camp. Like that doesn't work for McDonald's, you know. And so the employment options are limited. Like they need traditionally those labor jobs that they can go and do, and that just seems to be scarce. And yeah,
And they're gonna have to work to pay for a place to stay if they are to move into a home. And so if they can't get a job, they can't pay for it. So it's almost a never-ending circle, right?
Yeah, it is, and
And
that's
if
where
they're-
the support comes in that they need. Yeah.
And if there's no one to help them break that circle, then they're just gonna be in it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. While we're talking about jobs and situations with financial business, I wanted to bring up a point about how this might tie into BC altogether.
Okay.
So we have the homeless situation, right? And the government's not really focusing on that. And then we all, like, provincially.
Yeah.
And then we have the teacher situation.
Yeah.
And they're not really super focused on that. Sure, they've had meetings and things like that, but, you know, I think what their main focus is just the pipeline. It's just Northern Gateway, that's all it's ever been, Enbridge, the project, right? And so these things are just falling short. And maybe, you know, BC's kind of split in half. Everybody talks about it, Global News, Abbotsford News, everybody, right? They've released an article where BC's kind of split in half. Some people need the pipeline, some people don't want it, right? You know, most people are thinking, well, this so-called 70% already touched land that they're going to build on, right? Sure, that can get damaged, but the 30% shouldn't. Well, intentionally when they say that it is, and also that 70%, it's a little bit too nailed down to be exact, so I don't believe it personally. Also, there's some controversy with the fact that some of the maps that they drew, right? They were wrong.
Yeah,
there was islands in like.
Oh, I'd seen that.
Yeah. There's islands. There's probably about 9 islands, and then they just erased that completely and just made it look like, I don't know, I guess a deposit to the ocean.
Right, big empty passageway, and really it's like littered with islands.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, but that's not the situation now, homeless people. But I just wanted to say, like, you know, maybe
seems like that's what they focus on.
Yeah,
is
is
pipeline stuff.
something that might not help the economy later down the road because we're getting into natural resources.
Right.
So
Well, what's interesting about that is, like, I feel like we can't even bash like the province as much as our local government here in Abbotsford, because they had a big, like, $15-20 million to do like a first stage housing in Abbotsford, and the city rejected it on ideological premises. And so it's like, you know, touchy subject, but it's, you know, housing first is the idea that you house people even, and you don't, you know, kick them out for still being addicted to different substances and stuff. Like, it's based on the idea that you have to, like, give those people those initial supports, and then they can work up from there to deal with to like have healthy relationships and achieve, you know, what they can. And so it's worked around cities like Lethbridge and Alberta. Like, they have had like crazy reductions in in homelessness, like 70-80%. Like, there's cities in Alberta right now that are racing to be the first cities to completely eliminate homelessness. And they've done this by going to people on the streets, picking them up and saying, if we can get you a house today, would you live in it, like an apartment? And they usually often say yes, like most people do. And then they do it. We can make that happen. But there's like all these barriers in the way that, like, governments put up, and then there's not the funding, or then there's not the housing options, or then local governments like Abbotsford make, you know, first stage housing, you know, an issue and won't take the money. So you're getting all this money on a silver platter and then not even using it.
Yeah.
So
another point I want to bring up, though, it's along these lines, of course. After the Olympics, or rather before it, you know, they tried getting rid of a lot of the homeless people in the Vancouver community, like around the Olympic Village, to kind of spice it up, make it look new, fresh, whatever. They did the same thing with, what is it? New York City Square, or whatever that is, right? Doesn't matter, we're Canadian. And essentially, though, with Vancouver, right, they took all those homeless people out. How is it that before, you know, homeless rates were at a certain point, but then they raised after the Olympics because of the Olympic Village? Like, fundraising BC went into that in Canada. Yeah,
that's been something that's been discussed in the different task force meetings and stuff like that. Did basically Vancouver export its homelessness problem to Abbotsford, and that's why we're seeing the numbers increasing. And I think that the most recent study that was done in March, or this local survey, they asked them a bunch of questions, and a lot of the questions revolve around how long have you been here for, where were you born, if you were out of province, when did you come here? And what that study showed is that they have been here for a long time. Most people, is that the vast majority don't actually come from Vancouver. There's like it's a really small number, like 5 or 6% or something like that. So but we're seeing like 29% increase in homelessness. The numbers just like aren't lining up for that like argument. So
okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, it was kind of a theory that was thrown around, and I think it was kind of the government's way of making it seem like not taking responsibility for it, you know? Like, they wanted to blame it on something, but maybe it's not so easy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm kind of thinking? The politicians, the people who should be in power, or the government, are the people who work with other people with issues, say like doctors, volunteer members, organizers for communities, events, and things like that. But they never have the time to get into politics, right? And then the politicians never have the time to do these things for the community.
Yeah.
So
really what you're saying is that it's pretty much what we talked about while we were helping this homeless couple move. That's funny that you brought it up now.
Yeah.
With Dalton Jones here. No, yeah, for sure, I agree. Like, we should have people who are actually doing things among the community, and they actually stand for something, like some sort of change, not these people that are representing this change when they really don't. They can't really do anything.
A good example of that is like what Vancouver did with Judy Graves. She's retired now, but she was a big leader in the homeless community in Vancouver and really helped make tons of changes there. She's a beautiful woman. It's been a pleasure to actually get to meet her recently. But they actually started a thing, like a council position for her, like the homelessness advocacy chair for Vancouver. And what that enabled is she was like a service worker, front line, doing harm reduction, helping people get housed. And then all of a sudden she was able to start working in politics and take those stories right from the streets into those like air conditioned offices of, you know.
So
where
pretty much like I was talking about before with the task force, but
Yeah.
more along the lines of city council.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
They actually had a chair. Like Abbotsford could do that. They could have a homelessness advocacy chair. There'd be good people that could bridge those gaps from those two vastly different worlds. Like I've sat in these meetings. The politicians, like they're not bad. They're not malicious.
No, of course
not at
not.
all. They have like big hearts. They just want to do the right thing. And so one of the most powerful ways to get humans to think about things differently when things are holding them back is to tell them stories. And so having those people that can bridge those gaps, I think, is actually a really huge part of it.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I think we're coming to the closing segment of our show. What do you got up for us, Andy?
Why don't we play one more song? If you've been at the Canada Day ceremonies, I believe John Welsh was there, and he's from Abbotsford as well, and he's got an awesome song called On the Road, and we're going to play that right now.
Here we go now. Is this where you wanna be? I'm on the road now, trying a new scene. Oh, oh, oh. Oh no, no, no. Does she love me? I don't know anymore. Is it over? Right now I'm not too sure. Leaving home now in the early, early morning. Got a feeling I've been here before. Oh, 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 I'm on the road again. Oh, 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 I'll find myself a friend. We'll stop being at some greasy diner down the road, passing by all the mountains as we go. Look out the window to find myself again. The nearest town is 100 miles away. Oh, 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 I'm on the road again. Oh, 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 I'll find myself a friend. We'll get a motel, the cheapest we can find in a small town. Feels like a second time. We'll play a show at a rough and tumble bar for some people who say we won't get far. I'll grab a beer and pass it on the floor, thinking of the man I was before. Oh, 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 I'm on the road again. Oh, 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 I'll find myself a friend. And all your days blend into one, staying up till the break of dawn. And no one seems to know your name. All the nights just feel the same. Turn it round now to find my way back home. The colored leaves are telling me it's fall. Roll down the window and take a breath of air. It's a feeling you can't get anywhere. Oh, 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 I'm on the road again. Oh, 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 I'll find myself a friend. Oh, 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 this is not the end. Oh, 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 I'll find myself a friend.
The Student Union Society of the University of the Fraser Valley is starting now to operate a community food room, a student food bank services on the main campus of Abbotsford. Initially, the service hours are Monday mornings from 9 to 11 and Wednesday afternoons from 2 to 4. Also, students can request an appointment outside of regular hours by contacting the following email: vpacademic@ufbsus.ca. In order to shop at this community food room, UFB students need only to show their UPass and fill out a basic info form. We encourage students at any time to bring a backpack or reusable bags when coming in to shop. The community food room is committed to dignity, confidentiality, sustainability, and inclusivity.
Hello, everybody. So this song was called "On the Road" by John Welsh, and you can check him out on the Vision Concert Series. I believe it's like #Civil Battle. Not sure, but yeah, check it out. Anyways, we're here with Dalton talking about homelessness and his work, and we're going to continue our discussion.
So, you're going to talk about ways that the community could help with the situation with the homeless, I believe it was?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think number one is go give Ward Draper some money. That's number one. That's what you should do. You should find Ward and give him some money. Like, the 5 and 2 is not funded, like, by anything. They have, like, a couple places that do, like, normal funding, and the rest is just what people happen to give, and this is what they like buy needles with and like do harm reduction and support the community. Like, they do so much good work in the community, and they're such awesome guys with such big hearts, and they're characters too, and it's awesome. So yeah, if you're feeling like your pocketbooks are feeling open, then find Ward and give him some money.
Like your change pockets overfilling.
Your change, yeah, that's right.
Throw some out.
And he like knows where to get the money to like where it's gonna matter, right? And so that kind of stuff's important. And then also maybe like write your local government, let them know your opinions on like housing first approaches to dealing with homelessness, and get in, learn what your opinion is.
Preferably for local municipal and not so much provincial, just focus on the municipal
let the local local municipal government know what your opinion is, and I think it'll be good. Yeah,
they're not called MLAs, I screwed up there, but that doesn't matter.
So how can we contact 5 and 2 Ministries or anybody else if we want to get involved in helping the community out?
Well, they have a website, so you can always check out website.
Okay.
Google will help you find it. And 5 and 2 does a lot of work at Jubilee Park, right downtown, and they do like feedings on Wednesday and Saturday nights. Saturday nights is kind of like a church service, like feeding thing, or like meal that they give out, and everyone eats together. And
whereabouts is that church? Is that across from 7-Eleven?
There's no actual building. They just call like it's just the body, right? Like that's what they see it as a church, and it totally makes sense. So yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, we'll post a link up on our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/GenZshow.
Or you can contact us by our email at GenZshow or GenZshow?
Yeah.
At gmail.com. Sorry, I slipped there. GenZshow@gmail.com. Or you could go look at some of our YouTube videos at youtube.com/GenZshow. I believe it is that now, isn't it?
I'm not sure, but just check out on our Facebook page if we're wrong. And those videos are posted by our videographer and photographer, Aaron Pilla.
The designer for most of our unique things that we do is Andy, me, myself, Dakota, and as well as Connor Gilmore. If you want any work done by him, he does more of cartoon animation. You could go get in contact with him at scruffmcguff, yeah, it's a funny name, at gmail.com. Once again, that's scruffmcguff@gmail.com, or just check out our Facebook once again.
Yep, and you can buy our shirts. Just let us know if you want to buy a shirt with his work on it, and it's pretty awesome.
Dalton, is there any contact information you'd like to give out, for example, 5 to 2 or things like that, or would you just like us to post it later on Facebook?
Yeah, go ahead. Post on Facebook. Go buy a homeless person a coffee. Give them a smoke.
Perfect.
Hear some stories.
Yeah. Alrighty.
We're the Generation Z Show. I'm Dakota Leslie.
I'm Andy Lee.
I'm Dalton.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
That too, but also we're broadcasting from UFE to the Fraser Valley on 101.7 FM. Yeah, this is Generation Z Show outro.
Yeah. Tune in next week, 5 to 6.
This is the Gen Z Show.